Thank you so much, Mr. Subodh Rai, for the insights that you shared. Moving on further, we would like to invite for the next presentation on stage on employee stock options, corporate governance perspectives and sustainable growth, Mr. Harshu Ghate, co-founder and managing director, ESOP Direct.
Good evening, everyone. While going through the agenda, I could see that while everybody else is talking about ESG, I'm going to make sure that I would be talking of something else. Employee stock options, I'm sure all of you must have come across this phenomena, read across this news. Maybe some of you are beneficiaries of stock options. So I'm not going to go into the depth of what employee stock options are. I think all of us know about it. But what I'm going to cover is, since we are going to be, or we are already on the boards of different companies, how does it, how as a director one would look at if the company is proposing to implement ESOPs. Just to give a context of, what this size of this market is. So it's already being implemented by over 10,000 companies, more than 1,000 listed companies. The value of the options which employees hold now is more than 2 lakh crores rupees, roughly about 25 billion. And the market is growing by about 25–30% when it comes to the number of companies going for this. So from a governance perspective, or even from a regulatory perspective, I think it's large enough market. Most of it is a hidden market because many of these companies are unlisted today. But the moment they get listed, it's going to come up, when employees start encashing their stock options. It has been widely used across all sectors, private, public, listed, unlisted. It has been used by all industrial companies, manufacturing, services, financial services, all kinds of companies. One of the top 3 reasons why companies are giving stock options. Mostly it is being looked upon as a HR or a compensation angle, where you want to reward employees for their performance. But I think a fairly large number of companies are also doing to share, with the objective of sharing the wealth that is being created. So this is very important from a board point of view as to why you are doing it. Are you doing it just because your competitors are doing it, or are you doing it because your employees want you to do it? Or are you doing it just because it makes good press that you are, giving stock options? It's very important as to the purpose you are doing. Just the previous slide was on the regulation. So there are 4 major regulators who are regulating stock options. One is the SEBI, of course. SEBI has regulations on it for listed companies. Companies Act has regulations for unlisted companies. We have FEMA, which has provisions around if you are giving options to foreign employees, how they would be governed, especially in terms of inflow and outflow of funds. And there is, of course, the Companies Act. So Income Tax Act, obviously, because ESOPs are taxed whenever they are exercised. And I'm sure with all the money that is being generated by employees, the tax authorities are also earning a lot of revenues from taxation. Coming to the corporate governance perspective as to where, whenever it is discussed in the boards, what is it that the boards need to look at? One is, as I said, the purpose, why you are doing this. Are you doing it? And that decision will flow into exactly how you are going to implement it. Are all your employees going to get it? Are only some employees going to get it? What percentage of equity will the shareholders be diluting by giving options? How long will the plan go? Are you doing it as a one-off action where, it's a 25 years of company and we want to give some shares to employees? Is that the objective, or you want to make it a sustainable program which runs year after year? So all of those go into the decision as to why you want to do it, and that decision will result into your subsequent implementation. Allocation of the pool that you have, for example, if you decide 5% of the company shares would be given, how it would be allocated within different, hierarchy, senior management, junior management, CXOs, would it go right up to the junior most level or would it be concentrated? And there is a governance issue here because if you concentrate it too much at a CXO level, it is likely to be misused and even, the kind of money involved, it can influence the decisions some of the CXOs might take. Repricing is another governance issue. For example, if you issue options at say 100 rupees and if the market were to fall down, how would you react to, would you reprice the options to the, the fallen market price or you would keep it at that? And this is a governance issue because shareholders may not like you repricing the options, whereas employees would want to get it repriced. So this is again a governance issue. Use of secondary shares, many companies don't have enough dilution possible, so they use shares from the market and use it for ESOPs, and again, companies don't have, the trust which is managing this secondary shares don't have funds, so companies have to, lend those funds to the trust, etc. So it becomes a governance issue as to how much money should be used for purchase of these shares and whether, that makes sense from the other financial objectives of the company. There have been cases here where SEBI had actually for some time banned use of secondary shares because companies use the trust to basically hold and manipulate the market. Specifically, we have not, fortunately, we have not seen so far too much of litigation around this subject. But, in the West, this has been a very hotly litigated subject. And some of the areas where there is a potential risk, in terms of exposure, in terms of governance, is termination of employment. In India, we had a case where CEO was terminated just 2 days before the options vested. And that was because he was going to make a lot of, money from those options. And that was unfair termination. And given the stakes that are now being read about in terms of, what employees can make, this again is a very sensitive topic when it comes to, the board discussions. We have also seen very poor documentation when it comes to, and this again is prone to litigation risk because employees may come back to the companies with some loose paper which has been given to them, and unless it is sort of ratified by the board, it may not have legal significance, but employees can misuse it. Another topic which is related to this subject is on insider trading. Many of the option holders are also insiders, and their actions and their transactions need to be reported under the regulations. So this again is a very sensitive topic, and you must have read about different press releases on what SEBI is doing in terms of penalizing the employees as well as the boards for non-compliance of insider trading. Those are some of the key topics which I thought are open to, are exposed to risks and corporate governance. I think if time permits, we can take some questions. Thank you.